Today on Horse Plus podcast, we are diving into the Navajo horse world. So it's a world that a lot of people don't even realize is happening. And I really didn't know much about it until I started going out with animal rescue, and that's where we met.
Yes.
And Parnell's a farrier. And why don't you tell us a little bit about what got you into being a farrier and what it's like being a farrier. Now, you got to come here to Horse Plus, which is pretty neat, but usually it's just around the Navajo Nation.
Mm-hmm. Well, I got into roping in college.
Okay.
Probably 12th grade, somewhere in there, and then junior college. But I did rough stock, and then I couldn't do that no more. So I got more heavily into roping, and as I graduated with a master's degree, and I got smart and thought that maybe I should learn how to put horseshoes on my own horses. So I opted to go to a horseshoeing school in Purcell, Oklahoma.
Okay. So was that a big trip for you to head out to Oklahoma?
Yeah. Actually, I was working back east in Washington, D.C.
Oh, wow.
And I made those connections, and I made it to Oklahoma and went to blacksmith school.
Okay.
Which was about 8 weeks back then.
And pretty intense schooling.
Yeah, pretty every day, 6 days a week. And I learned the craft by 6 weeks.
Wow.
And I kind of gave up on blacksmithing, but with an encouragement of another fellow student, I continued to get better at it. And it takes a lot of time, the blacksmith part, because on cold shoeing, you're actually using some muscle.
Yeah.
But blacksmithing is just taps. And
taps.
It's really, really different there, yeah.
Wow.
So I was able to cut a stock, measure the hoof, set it, burn it on, and nail it on.
Wow.
That's how good I got. But I haven't really hot shoot any horses since I finished school. Yeah,
it's the cold shoeing.
Yeah, pretty much that, and really, it'd be 26 years.
Wow,
and that's a long
that's
time.
A long time.
But I try to take care of my body, and one of the instructors there, he was Native American. He said he was Delaware. And he yelled at me. I guess he was in the Marines. He said, "Bend your knees, Indian." So I bent my knees, and as time went through, my legs got stronger, I could hold my body up, a little longer and a little longer. And then also in the beginning, I was really scared of horses,
Okay.
and but now I wrestle with them sometimes if I need to. But they seem to be getting stronger as I get older because my joints, they got a lot of beating from holding on.
It's a lot of years of farrier work, and your back is still okay.
Yeah, it's
amazing.
Pretty strong.
Yeah, a lot of farriers I've seen it just after a couple of years they're done.
Yeah, they're done pretty much because just like the teaching goes, as far as using your back, you have to stand up straight. And my posture, I try to sit up straight. When I'm riding horses, I try to sit up straight too.
Yeah.
Even if the horse is really working, I try to sit straight. I love the rope.
Yeah.
And when I'm roping, I try to sit up straight too, because I don't want to be around it.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Good posture.
Good posture.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So when I first met you, it was with part of Glenda's Animal Rescue.
Yes.
And it's an equine service event where people can bring horses for castration, dental, farrier, vaccines.
Yeah.
And I remember just like, wow, you're just over there trimming like all day long.
Yeah.
Like you must be really tired at the end of the day. And how many horses do you think you've done in a day at one of those events?
Oh, probably 8 at the most.
Okay.
Yeah, it's
so
tough.
Maybe
it's grueling.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's something else. And there are other farriers that are there during that event too.
Yeah.
So it's not all just on you. So you're able to split it up. But every day, day after day, just going along, trimming.
Yeah, but the second day is probably the toughest because you're sore and you're trying to hold up the horse. But third, fourth day, you're getting in shape, and if your hands don't wear out, then you're good to go on the fifth day. Pretty much, it seems.
Wow. Well, and then by the fifth day, the event's over.
Yeah, by the time you're in shape, it's over. You got muscles,
Muscles you didn't know you had.
Yeah. So this is my second week here, and you look at my physique. I'm skinnier,
Oh yeah. All that trimming. So you've done a lot of trimming while you're here at Horse Plus.
Yeah.
So I know you trim Dino and Cowboy, which are our little miniature mascots. But maybe what are some of the other trimmings that you've done here at Horse Plus?
I've done horses that probably second trims, and I'm working with a miniature that's probably he's going to be his first trim.
Nice.
And then the other ones, they're a little bit jumpy, but with the right touch, they seem to recognize that I'm not there to hurt them or anything, and that's
You're
the
nice
best approach. Yeah. I try to be, but not in the beginning. I was kind of rough, but I was telling the other gentleman I'm working here with, I thought it was tough, and when I was shoeing a horse, and I always held on. I never let go. But one time I was holding on, and I used my hands and everything I had, and that horse just, boom.
Oh, yeah.
360 me.
Yeah.
Right there, just a little.
Yeah.
As I was holding on, and it just flipped me. And from that day forward, I don't fight them anymore. I try to.
You work with them.
Yeah, I work with them, but one of the things that you try to do is catch their toes. And that's like holding a person like this. It'd be like, So if you can catch a horse by the toe, you got some leverage there.
So they won't run off with you while you're trying to trim their feet.
Yeah.
They're kind of really large animals, and it's amazing they actually let us get down there and trim their feet.
Yeah.
Because they could definitely do some damage if they want to.
Yeah.
So it's, one thing I was thinking is interesting. So like been to Canyon de Chelly, and then also at Glenda's for that first opening night with all the veterinarians and everything. And the horse in the Navajo just history is so deep. And I wondered if you could talk a little bit about the kind of the history of the horse with the Navajo Nation, as far as like it seems like they've been there forever. Like I see petroglyphs of these horses, and doing research, I've found that there's evidence that the horses were here long before they were supposed to have been brought here by the Spanish. Yeah. And I was like, well, that makes sense, because, if you brought a horse over on a ship, you'd be like, yeah, we brought the horses here. You wouldn't be like, oh, they were already here. Because there's fossil evidence in Utah, like a whole herd of wild horses fossilized there, and also the buffalo are fossilized there, and there's still buffalo. So I'm like, why couldn't the horses always have been there? Yeah. I don't know. What do you think of that?
It baffles the mind. History says Spaniards brought the horse, but if you dig deeper and look at the tradition and the culture, there's ceremonies that attach songs about horses, and these ceremonies have begun since the beginning of time. Yeah, and there's horse songs in there. One time I got to sitting around and thinking, they say horses were brought here 1600 somewhere in there, and our ceremonies have begun way before. Way before then. And we have horse songs that mean something. And today I believe that they've always been here, and
that's what I believe. I'm like, I don't see how you could say, oh, they weren't here, because like even like there's evidence on a long time ago, like they found some they were actually slaughtering tools from rocks and stuff, but they tested the DNA on there and there's horse DNA.
Yeah.
Like, well, that was before they were supposed to be brought here.
Yeah.
So I think they've always been here. I don't see how they wouldn't have been here. I mean, it's in the rocks, the petroglyphs. Like there's horses in there, and they're like, oh, well, that was after this. That's later. And I'm like, how do you know that's later?
Yeah.
So why are we like those are like written in stone that these things happened.
Yeah.
And then come along and be like, oh. No, horses are a recent thing. I don't buy it. I don't buy it.
I don't buy that too.
Yeah, I think.
But horses are very important. They're a key to life.
Yes. And
one of the key things is that it'll take its life for you if you're the caretaker and if you own that horse or you feed it and you buy for it. Then if your life is ever being in question, then they'll leave on your behalf.
Wow.
So they're those kinds of animals.
A deep connection. Yeah. Wow. Yeah, no, it's amazing. Horses are such amazing animals. There's so much to give.
Yeah.
And it's sad that there's so many are taken for granted and end up in really bad situations. And when we've done basically kind of what Glenda does, but it's more of like a surrender of somebody has a horse, they can't keep them, they can surrender them to us.
Yeah.
So we went all across the United States and horses were being surrendered. And going to the Navajo Nation, I was like, well, it's going to be really interesting to see what these horses, and like most of the horses are in really good condition compared to the horses that would be surrendered at these different fairgrounds across the United States. Like they'd bring them in and they're all skinny and like not taken care of. And the horses that come to to get dentals and castrate, I'm like, they're in good shape and really good quality horses out there. They're really well taken care of. So I was like, wow, we can learn so much as our, from where we're coming from, where we just see people not taking care of horses. It was just so refreshing to go and see these horses on the Navajo Nation, and they're taken so well care of. And, you do a lot of events and all kinds of things with them.
Yeah.
But so I think the first time before we met, the first time you learned about Horse Plus was when Haley and Macy went out to do filming covering Glenda's event.
Yeah, that's
yeah.
And I shared a song on that.
You did, you did. Yeah, they came back talking about this guy who could sing.
Oh, yeah. Interestingly, I heard something about that.
Yeah.
Here's our culture. Everything begins 4 days later.
Okay.
Like in terms of death. 4 days later, life continues.
Okay.
And then from within these 4 days, you remember. After 4 days, you can't. You can't live in the past. Everything is going forward.
Yeah.
So interestingly, I heard. So there's no grief, there's no sorrow, and I heard recently, just listening, and I learned that horses are the counselors, because when there was no vehicles, there's nothing.
Yeah.
There's nobody you could talk to. There's nobody you could put some of your weight on them, and the horse was there.
Yeah, it's true.
So, and that touched me,
Yeah.
that touched my heart. And wow, that's something.
Yeah, because it wasn't until, very recently the cars came, the trains and all these stuff. And it was just the horse. I mean, they're amazing therapy animals.
Yeah.
And you're out on a long trail ride, you end up talking to your horse.
Yeah.
And so a horse is, for me, like my first pony was probably the one like you're gonna trim its feet out there once you get him a little gentled down. But he was this kind of really nasty little Shetland pony, and he'd send me through the ringer, and it was a survival just trying to ride that pony. And then I got a horse when I was 10, and it was a wild horse from the BLM, and got her trained to ride and everything. My mom trained her at first, and then my mom accidentally went flying off of her and broke her arm. And then my mom's all in the house with her arm messed up. So I finished training her from then when I was 10. And I had such an amazing connection with that horse. And there's something about a horse I was always like, the best place to cry is in the mane of a horse. You just wrap your hand around their neck and like they just sit there and like they're there for you. And it's something a lot of people don't get to experience, is that horses can be there for you in every situation. They're not just an animal for riding. They're you can ride them, you can do things, but they're there to connect with you in such a more powerful way.
Yeah, spiritual level, pretty much. And if you can think back and look back, when you did those things, right after then they would roll.
Oh, a lot of times, yeah.
They would roll, and I guess that's how they cleanse themselves. So
they take it all in, and they're like, okay.
Yeah.
And I think, like a lot of times, we go through an experience and we just hang on to it so much. But like you're saying, like give it the 4 days and then move on. Like don't hold it on. And I think so much like that the horses, they're there for us, and then it's like, okay, we've heard it. Let's move on.
Yeah.
And horses are amazing animals. Yes,
they are. Each body part represents something in the cosmos or Mother Earth or
It's really just they're so fast.
Yeah.
Like there's not quite anything like being on the back of a horse just flying.
Yeah.
Like
that's an awesome feeling.
Yeah, it is. It is, because it's almost like at first you're just like you're going, and then it's like you almost become one, and feels like you're flying across the road or the land, and it's amazing.
Yeah, nothing can touch you then.
No, not then, unless your buddy's on a horse going just as fast. So have you had any bad horse accidents like that have injured you at all? Have you been relatively pretty safe?
I've been pretty safe. It's just working where you get to a certain trusting point when you start trusting that particular animal. But some days when they're still kind of green, if you tried something you tried already and there's a reaction, and that can be an accident.
Yeah.
So it seems like you always have to be prepared. I ride my green horses at home, and it's tiring because you're constantly waiting for something to happen.
Something's going to happen.
Yeah. When it doesn't happen, then it's good. But one time I was sacking out a horse, and it was a stud colt, beautiful looking one, a buckskin too even. And I tapped the rope right here on his chest, and he just...
Oh, he got you.
He got me here.
Oof.
Was it?
Oh, there's a scar right there. Yep.
Yeah, it got me
I see
here.
That.
And it almost tore my skin off right here. But I super glued it back.
Just glued it back together.
Yeah, right quick. Yeah, cleaned it out, super glued.
And it healed up just fine.
There's not much of a scar, but there's a feel of it. Yeah. So you don't expect those sometimes.
No, sometimes not. Yeah. That little pony that I had, he bucked me off when I was a kid. I'm going to start over. The little pony I had, he bucked me off when I was a kid, and I landed on a stick, and it went right under my skin through here. It could have gone in my eye. It hit right on the bone there. So I have a scar that goes right along here, and then it went under the skin and then out through the top.
Oh, wow.
And so just not through the bone, just through the skin. And so my mom took me to the doctor, and they got me all stitched up. And so that was a pretty good accident on a horse. And then another accident that happened, it was pretty significant, is we had a swing, and my mom ended up expanding the horse pen, and the swing didn't used to be in the horse pen, but then when the horse pen got bigger, the swing was in it. And I was swinging, and the horse ended up swinging right into the back of the horse, and she kicked me in my head and my back, and I have a dent in my head. And it took a long time before I could even like walk again, and like it's a wonder I'm alive through that. And then hurt my arm one time pretty bad. Didn't go to the doctor. I'll take animals to the vet all day long, but it's like, oh, it's myself. And then a couple years after that, they it ended up having a bone chip from that injury that got in somewhere, and arm swelled up again. Had to go get it taken care of finally. And then I was at an auction taking pictures of one horse, like we do their intake photos, and it swung around, kicked me, and I got a dent in my leg right there from that horse. And then another horse, I was she liked to run, and she was trained to ride and everything, but like when she get running, she wouldn't like to slow back down. So I had a big long road, and I was just like letting her run fast, and I pull her back, and then was control it again. We were just practicing like that, and there was this mud puddle, and I went falling off because she jumped to the side with the mud puddle. And anyway, she ended up stepping on my calf and like didn't rip the skin, but ripped the muscle under it and like totally separated it. And it's all like my left leg is just all messed up from horses, and my head. That's and my it's a wonder, but people are like, you still like horses after all that? I'm like, yeah. But I'm glad that your face injury wasn't as you just super glued it and back to work. Yeah.
But I was just thinking while you're talking about all those things that were accidents or whatever. But I'm lucky I went to horseshoeing school. Yeah. They told me and taught me how to handle horses and be around horses and where to place your hands and just to be safe. So they taught me that. So, but as I say that, there is a hole right there.
Oh, you got a hole in your hand.
You see that?
Yeah.
Right there. The horseshoe nail came through
all the way through.
It come out here, and then it pulled that horse pulled, and it went. I could hear my skin tear, and then it was a split in my hand, and like I said, when they fight, I try to catch the toe all the time. Yeah. So I caught the toe, but I caught the nail too. That was the only injury.
And was the owner like, "Is my horse bleeding?"
They probably thought that. They're like, "My horse is great, just stand there." And a lot of times now, I say, I don't believe what the owner says, anymore. I know. I just got to get under there and see how it feels.
Just see how they do. Yeah. No, I just know it's kind of a running joke. Is like the farrier might get hurt, and the owner's like, "Is that my horse's blood?" And it's like, "No, it's not your horse." And he's like, "Okay, well, too bad for you." So did you just super glue your hand, go back to work, or what happened there?
I just wrapped it.
Just wrapped it.
I had to shoe 9 horses in Albuquerque. That's when I was younger, and but after that first day after the tear, man, I had to soak it because it stunk.
Yeah, that's a pretty bad injury.
Yeah. So, but I cleaned it and I just kept it like that. Yeah. And that's how it grew back. So.
That's a good thing it grew back. Yeah. No. Yeah. I know watching farriers work when they're shoeing, when those nails come through and they're all lit in there, I'm like, oh.
Yeah, that's the most dangerous
danger zone. And when they flip the nail over and like get the end of it off, I'm like, okay, we can breathe a little easier. But when those spikes are there, I'm just like,
So that's where you gotta have your hand position.
And
it's gotta be like
safe.
Where you're holding and trying to grab the other side.
Wow.
So there's hand positions a lot.
Keep yourself
people
safe.
Don't know that. They're the ones that get injured.
Yeah.
Like most of my scars on my hand is the first 2 weeks of horseshoeing school.
First 2 weeks just wiped you out. Yeah, and then you knew what to do after that.
Yeah, after that.
They're like, this guy's got to learn.
A lot more damage in there. Maybe a missing limb or something.
Oof.
But I'm glad it never happened.
When we've been out with Glenda and Animal Rescue and Essing of it, I've learned a lot of really interesting things about traditions with the horses as far as they're getting castrated. Some say like, oh, they'll run faster or they'll run slower. Or like, what are some different things that you've kind of heard? And you said that kind of each tribe has a different...
Each clan
has a different approach to it.
Yeah. How I seen it as a kid growing up, and my grandpa doing all the castrations for the horses, he did mark all the hooves after the cuts.
Put the blood on the hooves.
On the hooves, on the bottom side, and then on the nose, and then on the legs too, and then each one is actually thrown to the front of them.
Okay.
And after the horse gets up, then the testicles are picked up, and then my grandfather used to put them on tree limbs.
Oh, okay.
And he said that we're hiding it from the crow.
Oh, okay.
From the crow, because if the crow actually get a hold of it, then the horse is going to be really spooky.
Oh, okay.
So if other birds or insects get to it, then it's better. Then the horse is calmer.
The horse is calmer.
Yeah. And the reason why they throw them out front is so that they can continue to go forward and not be so jumpy, I guess, is part of the reasoning behind that. And then just the blood, it just kind of just blesses itself so that it can heal faster. Yeah.
Yeah, it's so amazing because I've just worked with veterinarians most of my life, and seeing how they did things. And then when I went to the Navajo Nation, I was like, wow, there's so much more than just a castration.
Yeah. It's a life-changing event.
Oh, definitely.
And then me and Tito, we mentioned it here to Dr. Lydia. And she did that.
Oh, did she do it?
On those little 3.
Okay.
Yeah. So we're kind of happy that she's kind of listening to us. Yeah.
Because the first day y'all came, she was doing a bunch of castrations, her and Dr. Gina.
Yeah.
And so you were kind of telling her how your ways are, and she did it. Well, that's
she
neat.
did it, and she put blood on the hooves. Yeah.
Okay. Wow.
Yeah.
See things I don't know.
Yeah, and we're working with the little guys now.
How are they doing?
They're leading,
these
and they're doing good.
It's great that you're able to work with these horses, and we have so many horses here at our organization that bringing folks out from the Navajo Nation who know about horses and able to work with them and get them ready for adoption has been a huge help here at our organization because we have so many horses, and it's really hard to find people that are good with horses.
Yeah.
Like you can get people that maybe they're super, super rough with them and they just don't know what they're doing. But we've been so blessed here to have you, different folks coming out from the reservation to help with the horses.
Yeah, it's just, like I said, in the beginning, I was kind of rough. That's what I noticed about myself, and horse reacting a certain way. It's not because of them; it's because of you.
Yeah.
So you have to prepare the horse to accept you under them, because that's a dangerous spot there. And I try to do that, and try to have them get used to any kind of touch or sound or noise, and then that's how I can get under there safely and out of there safely. And I've never been injured.
Yeah.
Knock on wood.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm doing farrier work.
Yeah.
Except that
Other
now.
than that.
Yeah, that's
and
it.
The first 2 weeks of farrier school.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And one other one, I think is the same horse. It pulled back on its front leg, and it put my knee backwards. Oh. And I had to wear a brace for
that horse
couple
had
of months.
It in for you.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
A lot of horses, they are taught these behaviors, I think, personally. And sometimes I get in there and they start reacting to me, and then I got to change that. And I'm lucky that I can read, and just like a horse trainer, like they can read, and the same way as a farrier with experience, you can get to the point where you know what to do to change a particular attitude. Yeah. So, and it's all in the stance. Whoever wants to be a farrier, it's you got to use your legs, not your back.
Yeah, save your back.
Yeah,
save your back.
Yeah.
Wow. So the first time Haley and Macy came out there, they filmed you singing a song.
Yeah.
And what does that song mean?
It's just a straight lullaby.
Okay.
Yeah, straight lullaby.
Just a lullaby. A good
like
lullaby
a good
song.
feeling.
A good feeling song.
Good happy feeling kind of song. But I sometimes I drive long distances, and somehow God has blessed me to come up with a song.
Nice.
Sometimes that is heartfelt. Even to myself as I sing it, I can feel the message that's brought forth. So and I've heard some elders that Native American songs and songs that are sacred, their messages from the Creator God. So so I believe that.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Yeah. So a lot of songs, it can be cleansing, it can be healing.
Yeah.
And some of those horse songs that I've heard, they're awesome. They're beautiful.
Nice. Well, I heard you were working on another song.
Yeah.
Since you've been here, you're getting inspired.
Yeah, pretty much.
Nice.
Yana yawana hoyo hayane. Yana yawana hoyo hayane. Hayane. Yana yawana hoyo hayane. Shili hey holo ne jane go hey honey say. Shili hey holo kono honka giwiana hai ne yongwa. Shamanda shije hey honey lende. Holi hola go hey ba hajon. To the zendo sen ye hadet e. Ina ba hajon e yasize. Shili hey hola ne jane go hey honey le. Shili hey hola kono honka giwiana hai ne yongwa. Yana yawana hoyo hayane. Yana yawana hoyo hayane. Hayane. Yana yawana hoyo hayane. Shili hey hola ne jane go hey honey le. Shili hey hola kono honka giwiana hai ne noa. Shamada shije hey honey lende. Holi halaga hey ba hajan. So the zenda sen ye hadet e na ba hajan e yansize. Shili hey hola ne jane go hey honey le. Shili hey hola kono hoka giwiana hai ne yo. Yana yawana hoyo. It's just straight. It's just like a harmony. And then Shili e holo nijone. It means I have a horse and it neighs beautifully. And then it says I have a horse here on Mother Earth. I have one. And then the second part it says Shama do shije e hane lende. So it says, my mother and my father said this. It's kind of like in the past to where they're no longer here, my parents. So I have to present it that way in that song, that they're no longer here. But when they were alive, they said this to me, and I remember kind of like, Shimano shije e anislende. That's what they said. Anislende. Hodli means if you have a horse. Hodli I mean, if you have a horse, it's a beautiful, wonderful thing. And then the horse is made up of songs and prayers. So in that, it's made that way, then it represents life. So the zendo sen ye hadente Inna means your life. Navajo means like your life. However, it is when you have your own horse, it maintains that life that you have.
Well, thank you so much for doing this podcast. And
you're welcome.
I think people will be very interested to learn about a Navajo farrier who trims a lot of horses. So, yeah. Well, thank you so much for doing this with me.
I'm good with that. Yeah. Hakamone. Kachi koi iltsko. Nana koshi. Jano shil nada hatilne.